Any stories or memories of a young Lenny Kravitz since his mom was?
Yes, Lenny was on the set all the time. My son would be on the set, and he just knew Lenny. He just admired Lenny. He said, Lenny's good. He's going to make it. And so I told Lenny that later. So him and Lenny used to have conversations all the time.
Yeah, I'm a huge Lenny Kravitz fan personally.
Yeah, Roxy would say, he's your son. He's a Gemini. You Geminis understand each other.
I know a little bit about Geminis too, so. And so then the Jeffersons went on for 11 seasons.
11 seasons. We would have gone on, except they canceled us. But they didn't want anybody to know they canceled us, so they never announced that we were canceled. What they did was we were on 3 times a week, the new show and 2 reruns. So they figured rightly people would not know the difference. So they took us off, never said a word. We heard it from our friends, somebody who saw it in the paper. And so Isabel was upset to the day she died over that. In the meantime, I had done a play called 227, and my daughter had talked me into getting the rights for it. And so I had talked to 3 different companies. And then Norman Lear, I was on the lot, and he said, I hear you have a good play. I said, yeah. He said, well, I want to come and see it. I said, well, I invited you. You didn't come. He said, well, call my office. So I called the office, and they came on the last night, and they had to sit way in the back. And so afterwards he said, well, what are you doing? He said, are you talking to anybody? I said, yes, I'm talking to Columbia, but they haven't got around to talking about money. They're talking about everything. And he said, well, call my office. So I called his office. He said, why don't you and I do it? I said, okay. So then we ended up with Norman again.
And you were executive producer on that show? You were showrunner?
Well, I wanted to be producer. Norman did not let actors be producers, but I was determined. So I didn't want to be exec producer, I just wanted to be producer. I figured they'd come and ask me questions and stuff like that. But he didn't want me to be producer. So then I got upset and I went to my attorney and I said, now I want to be exec producer. So he said, well, now they're not going to let you be exec producers, but if I get you all courtesies, rights, and privileges of exec producer, will you take it? Or is this a head trip? So I said, no, I'll take it. So I did, and they didn't realize I was going to act on it, but I did. I went to editing, I wrote, I did things. It gave me a whole new aspect of the business.
And I'm not sure, but you probably were the first Black woman in that position during that time.
I don't think so. I think Debbie Allen was already exec producer. NBC didn't really give a shit who's the exec producer. You know? So whatever the other companies were, it was not a problem for NBC. So the person that Norman Lear had on the show as exec producer, I ended up firing, because when I went for a meeting with him, you can always tell when somebody's had a meeting when you walk in a room before you get there. And so he was sitting there, and he said, well, Marla has some things that she wants and some things I can't accommodate her on. So they got to me, I said, tell us what those things are that you can't accommodate. He said, well, I see no reason for Lester to be in the show. The network wants Marla to own the building. I said, there are 3 things. I will not, under any circumstances, own the building, because my romance with the people is that I'm one of them. I'm one of the have-nots. For me to own the business and be the boss makes me a have. I don't know what that would do to my career, and I'm not willing to find out. I said, I gotta have a man, because for 11 seasons I haven't had a man, and the public keeps asking me, why don't they let you have a man? So obviously they want to see me with a man. So I gotta have a man. I said, and the 3rd thing, I would like for the show to be in California, because we're on the stoop and you can be outside all the time. So I won the first two. The third one, we had it in Maryland somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I gave that up.
Picked your battles on that one.
Right.
And 227 was also hugely successful. Of course, a young Regina King.
Yes. There are three people I asked for. I was doing the play with Hal Williams for 3 months, and so I didn't have to worry about chemistry. We already had that. So I thought that was a plus. So I insisted on having Hal. I insisted on having Helen Martin because we had a blind man, and they didn't want the blind man. But I said, I want Helen Martin because she can say things, whatever she wants to say, and get away with it. And she did. Mm-hmm. I said, and I want Regina King because Regina was in the play with us. But on top of that, she had sandy hair. Hal had sandy hair, and they both had light eyes, light brown eyes. I said, so she looks like she could be his daughter.
She did.
I fussed until they gave in on her.
Wow.
And then when we were casting, Jackée came in, and she read for Rose. Then she asked if she could read for Sandra. So we let her read for Sandra. I sat in on all the casting with everybody. And so she was kind of overweight. She had a little short hair, and she was doing Mae West, and she was hysterical. I said, that's her. The network wanted Cheryl Lee Ralph. But I said, no, Jackée's the one. I don't think she knows to this day that I'm the one that hired her. But wow. I'm the one that insisted on having her because she was right. So they said, okay, but we'll just put her in 7 out of 13 because she's over the top. I said, whatever. She ended up doing all of them. And of course, she ended up being the breakout character. And out of everybody on the show, I think she was the one who made the show so successful.
She was very popular.
And they enjoyed writing for her. The writers stopped writing for me. They were writing for her. But I didn't say anything because it was funny.
Right. And ratings were good.